Well, if they just watched Prom Night, they'd save time. Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Horror Corner. I'm your host, Sean Patrick Erschen, and this week we are doing another movie review. This is Prom Night from 1980, starring the legendary Jamie Lee Curtis, as well as Leslie Nielsen. Went on to have big successes in the 90s with some comedies, so it's nice to come back and see him in a more serious role for a change. And of course, Jamie Lee Curtis coming hot off the heels of her big success in the film Halloween from 1978, which unleashed a whole onslaught of slasher films in the early 1980s, and this film is no exception. So here, Leslie Nielsen plays the principal of this local high school, and his daughter is played by Jamie Lee Curtis. Her name is Kim Hammond. So yeah, they're getting ready for the prom dance, the big dance at the end of the year for the seniors. And guess who is prom queen? Miss Jamie Lee Curtis, of course. So the film starts on a very grim note, a very eerie note, I might say. And so the film begins with this group of young kids running around, messing around this old building, this old abandoned building. And they're messing around playing hide and seek, hiding all around the house. And this young girl, Robin, happens to stumble across the house, and she sees one of the kids up in the windows, someone she knows from school. And she's there with her buddies, but her buddies leave her. They're like, I'm out of here. But the other girl is still curious, so she goes up and wants to try and get in on the game with them, the game of hide and seek. Except this is a very morbid game of hide and seek that they're playing. It's like, if you catch you, I'm gonna kill you, you know. It's like, that's a weird way of playing hide and seek. Kill, 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 once she catches them. So they play that game with this girl. Once they see that she's not supposed to be there, then they really mess with her, you know. Once they catch her, they're like, kill, kill, kill. And she keeps creeping back. She's like, what? I didn't even want to be part of your game. What is this? And they all gather around her in a group. They gang up on her. They're like, kill, kill, kill. And she keeps backing up, and on next thing you know, she's backing into the window. And they're like, and they don't stop, you know, they kill, kill. And she smashes right through the window and falls down to her death. Pretty nasty. And it's really morbid. And it's shot beautiful. I love the way it's shot. I love the tone of it. And it's got some great music, some great score to that scene. It's very well shot. I love it. It's one of my favorite openings of those early 80s slasher films. And what happens, of course, they don't call the police or anything. Why would you do that? They just decide, no, they'll never believe us. We'll never get away with it. We'll get thrown in jail, you know. And they're just little kids. They're like 10-year-olds, you know. So they all decide to make a pact. We're never going to tell anybody about this. And then, of course, we meet their adult versions later on in life. They're all in high school now, grown up, ready to graduate, getting ready to go to their big prom. And of course, they all get stalked one by this killer calling up on the phone and making weird voices like, Wendy, do you still like to play games? And you wonder, did this have an influence on Scream? Obviously it did, because Scream talks about this film directly. So yeah, obviously Scream was very influenced by this film and other slasher films of that ilk, and obviously Halloween. But Prom Night was a big one in there, you know. And especially that video store rental guy keeps talking about Prom Night. If they just watch Prom Night. Love it. So yeah, the killer stalks them all one by one, bent on revenge. We don't know who it is, of course. It's a mystery. And I really enjoy that mystery type slasher. And it alludes at a lot of other people possibly being the killer. There's this creepy dude who's like the maintenance guy, the janitor, and he's like really creepy and checks out the young girls all the time. And they get all skeeved out by him. So it's alluded that he could be it's alluded that some of the other kids could be the ones that were responsible for killing the girl, you know. And it's alluded that this other guy who was the murder was pinned on this known rapist who they arrested for the murder of the young girl, even though he had nothing to do with it, of course. So yeah, throughout the film it's a total mystery. We keep wondering who it is, and we getting all these different clues, and the police have no idea. They think it's this one guy, but it could be somebody completely different. Or could it be one of the people that were there at the scene, you know, at the beginning there with those other kids? Was it one of those kids? Or who knows? But we know that Kim Hammond, who's played by Jamie Lee Curtis, it was her sister that was killed right in the beginning there, who fell out the window. So she's very traumatized by the events. She keeps getting flashes of that in her head and having bad dreams about it. But she just wants to, you know, forget all that and have a good time and, you know, become the prom queen, you know. But I have to say this film is a lot of fun, you know. It gets some flack sometimes, but because it is kind of slow, especially in the middle part. But once it gets going, it's really fun. And it's got a great vibe, too, with the music. There's a lot of 70s disco in there, especially when they see them dancing at the prom, you know. This film still kind of feels a lot like a 70s film, even though it's taking place in the 80s. There's still some of that left over and carried into this film. You see the dudes with the long collars and their disco dancing, and Jamie Lee Curtis gets some nice moves in there, you know, some disco dancing there. And there are some solid kills in the film, too. The killer is not one of the best looks, I would say, for a slasher killer. It's probably one of the weakest. It's just dressed up in all black with a ski mask. It's very boring and plain. It's not like one of those classic looks you think of as a slasher killer, you know, like a Jason or a Michael Myers. Nothing like that. Nothing that creative. It's just a dude in a ski mask. Or is it a dude? We don't know. I'm not going to give it away either. But this is a very worthwhile slasher. I really enjoy it. I love the soundtrack. I love the feel of it. It's got a great 80s vibe. It's got some real 80s cheese. The acting is really campy at times. But Jamie Lee Curtis does a great job, as does Leslie Nielsen, of course. And I love the mystery factor, you know, the fact that you don't know who the killer is. And I will say one thing, is this one geeky dude, and this goes against the stereotype, this typically geeky guy that you think would never ever get the girl in a million years, gets the girl and he's not even trying. Well, he does mac a little bit on her and it works. You know, the girl comes in his van with him, goes out to the woods to make out, you know. I'm like, it's never even alluded to that this kid is geeky or nerdy or anything. And I love that. I'm like, go, man, yeah! Because that was me as a kid, you know. I couldn't get a girl to save my life, you know. I'd be getting rejected left and right. This guy's macking it, and he's a geek just like me. I love that part about it. Yeah, I love the soundtrack. I love that 70s disco stuff, and I love the horror score, too, as well. It's very eerie. It's almost like an off-key Psycho or something. I enjoy it. I dig it. And I do like the film. I love Prom Night. So, guys, definitely check out the original Prom Night. Forget that stupid-ass lame remake and catch the original Prom Night from 1980. And it does have some nasty kills there with the axe-wielding maniac. There's several axe kills. There's a classic beheading scene, which comes right out on the dance floor. You see the dude's head slide right out onto the dance floor while everyone's dancing around. Ah! You know. It's classic. I love it. And thank you for joining me, folks. Sean Patrick Erschen in the Horror Corner. Tune in and stay scared.